reinventing MOBAs and saving the universe, this week is nothing if not ambitious. What do you do when your series has been running for over 25 years? Simple. Smash everything together and call it a multiverse. But not Serious Sam. Here, it's the Shatterverse. Totally different story, of course. Serious Sam is back, but this time the fight spans multiple realities. The game turns the classic horde shooter into a roguelite run and gun, where several versions of Sam team up to deal with a rather huge problem. The story begins when the series' longtime villain tears open the so-called Shatterverse. The result is multiple alternate versions of Sam joining forces in a resistance program tasked with hunting down 5 of the villain's most dangerous lieutenants across different realities. We're no experts in villainy, but if you ask us, copying your own main antagonist so they can team up against you sounds like a pretty terrible idea. But hey, let them cook. Instead of a traditional campaign, the game focuses on short runs through changing arenas filled with the series' signature enemy swarms. And that also includes their art style as well. Layouts, encounters, and anomalies change between attempts, so players have to adapt and gather upgrades, the typical loop in these kinds of games. Between runs, players unlock permanent upgrades and experiment with new combinations of boons and modifiers for the next run. Weapons stick to the franchise's usual philosophy: big, deadly, and fun. The game also offers co-op for up to 5 players online, where each person controls a different version of Sam. It will release this year on PC and consoles. Golden Tides takes the usual MOBA formula and throws it overboard. Literally. Forget lane pushing. Here it's all about treasure hunts with your pirate crew across open islands and the high seas. Each match begins with both crews spawning on the same island. From there, it's a race through jungles, temples, and dungeons, clearing NPC enemies for gold while searching for a buried treasure map. The first team to grab it and return to their ship sets sail, which is where things get interesting. Out on the open ocean, ship-to-ship combat takes center stage, at least until the cutlasses get their say again on the next island. These naval battles are one of the highlights, demanding good coordination while players split duties across the helm, cannons, and magic stations for utilities like stuns. Back on land, guarded treasures, bosses, and delivery points keep both teams fighting for control. Combat uses direct keyboard movement instead of click to move, with ability-driven heroes and flexible roles. That's where it hasn't completely forgotten its MOBA roots. Some crews focus on farming monsters for upgrades, others hunt the enemy team, and many end up doing a bit of both depending on how the match unfolds. Or nothing at all in Greg's case. Golden Tides already features a growing roster of pirate-themed heroes and a simplified item system with just 3 upgradable slots, keeping matches quick, easy to learn, but still fun to master. And one final note, the game originally included NFTs, but that idea has been completely scrapped and won't return unless players actually ask for it. So let's hope it stays that way. The game is aiming for a 2026 release on Steam and the Epic Games Store, with playtests planned early this year. In Salvation Denied, you play as small construction robots sent to a hostile alien planet to assemble massive experimental structures for a mysterious client. What these structures are actually for is never fully explained. Your job is simply to build them and hope they stay standing. Honestly, we saw the blueprints, and at this point, they're just messing with them. But even the construction alone turns out to be harder than it sounds. Every block follows full physics rules, meaning weight, balance, and structural support all play a role. One misplaced piece or overloaded platform can send an entire tower collapsing. So, to keep things under control, players use tools like gravity guns, foam launchers, and jetpacks. And if you've ever used foam pistols, you know how mesmerizing they are to watch and use. So, building might soon take a backseat. Larger machines can also be operated, including vehicles that shift entire sections of a structure or recycle debris into new building materials. And just when the build starts looking stable, the planet itself steps in. Meteor storms, acid rain, and other hazards regularly test the integrity of whatever the team is constructing. Great! Salvation Denied supports up to 4 players online with proximity voice chat that only works when teammates are close together, which can make saving a collapsing tower slightly more complicated. The game is planned for a PC release in fall 2026, with a short public playtest currently running on Steam. And while we are on the topic of complete mayhem, we got Minimo, taking the massive scale of an MMO and squeezing it into mini roguelike sessions. Mini multiplayer online, so to speak. The game drops up to 200 players into a shared, procedurally generated fantasy world for fast 30-minute runs where the goal is simple: explore, loot, level up, and see how far the group can push before the clock runs out. Every session starts fresh, while the map, encounters, and objectives change each run, sending players through colorful ruins, forests, and villages, while the occasional oversized boss waits somewhere down the road. You gather gear, unlock new classes and abilities, while the world gradually opens up as players complete tasks together. Even the progression is shared. When players solve puzzles, finish quests, or defeat major enemies, the world expands for everyone in the same run, creating satisfying moments where dozens of strangers suddenly benefit from a single breakthrough. Classes come from collectible masks, with around 50 different roles already planned. Some focus on combat, while others provide support or utility, like cooking, fishing, or crafting. Mixing these roles becomes important during larger events, especially when hundreds of players gather to fight giant raid bosses together. We think you will need at least 50 cooks for that giant fish monster. What do you mean they don't have weapons? Grab your pants! Minimo is currently in development with no release date yet, but it's already listed on Steam with alpha signups expected soon. We talked about Spellcaster Chronicles a while back, and suddenly it was released without further notice. Even we discovered their early access launch only after 2 or so weeks. Now, a month later, they added their first new double-layer map, with destructible ice structures, secret locations, and tons of snow. So if you had this one on your radar, but your radar didn't catch their launch either, you can now try it for free over on Steam. RoadCraft adds another layer to their gameplay: demolition. The newly released Reclaim expansion lets players deliberately tear down unsafe structures, using heavy demolition equipment, collect the salvage, and reuse the materials elsewhere. It also adds 2 new 4 square kilometer maps and 7 new vehicles, from logging machines to massive dragline demolishers. As with the base game, the expansion fully supports 4-player co-op with cross-platform play. Splitgate's Season 2 clearly took the scenic route, but that gave the devs time to go through community feedback and pack quite a bit into the update. Foregone Destruction, one of the most requested maps, is back, alongside the new Arena Containment, a small map designed for action, the Orion Plasma Rifle, which rewards players patient enough to charge up a devastating shot. And for fans of speed, the beloved race mode returns, proving that what players often want most isn't something new, but a cherished classic from the past. Co-op space shooter Jump Space just received its biggest overhaul yet, with the Heated update. A new heat system now tracks how much attention your crew attacks during a run, meaning skipping side missions makes the final sector far more dangerous, but the runs quicker. The update also adds grenades, keeps your inventory after fade runs, and improves progression for new players. Wartales is heading into the big city with its upcoming DLC, Contract Fires in the Capital, launching April 30th. Instead of roaming the countryside for contracts, your mercenary band now operates inside a massive capital, where a new chaos system tracks how your actions affect districts, trade, and public order. The campaign also supports co-op for up to 4 players. The latest Hytale update focuses heavily on creative building, adding more than 500 new blocks and construction pieces for player worlds. Builders now have expanded material sets, new farming tools, cosmetic options, and a creative mode tool that simplifies complex structures. The patch also introduces optional proximity voice chat, making multiplayer worlds feel even more like shared spaces. This week, we got something for the retro enthusiasts among you. Over on the Epic Games Store, you can grab Hyper Echelon, a fast-paced shoot-'em-up game where you pilot a small starfighter. It blends classic arcade shooting action with modern twists and local couch co-op for 2 players. But that's all for this week. We wish you a ton of fun building or demolishing in co-op with your favorite people, and we'll see you again in the next one.